Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Geekorama podcast, the podcast by geeks for geeks. We are produced by superherofiction.com, the one-stop shop for all your superhero novel needs, and now the largest website dedicated to superhero fiction. We are your hosts.
I'm Jeremy Flagg, author of The Children of Notre Dame.
And I am T.L. Heinrich, author of the Vigilante Superhero Universe. What are we talking about this week, Remy?
Okay, so last week we talked about our favorite relationships in superhero TV, movies, and comic books. This time we've decided to take it a step further, and we're going to talk about the ships that never happened but should.
Yep.
And it's kind of funny because I think your ships are more of a romantic and mine are more looking for disaster.
Yeah, you went dark, dude. You went dark on this one.
Yeah, but I do have one that is a legit, I do want to see it happen. So
okay.
I also want to add, since our last show, I've been reading the new run of X-Men, and we had talked about the Jean Grey Cyclops Wolverine thing.
Yeah.
Cyclops wasn't involved, but definitely Jean Grey Wolverine were having some hot tub sex. So
nice.
I'm glad we're getting to see it on the page, and we saw it on the page.
Really? Okay, now I have to look this up because I'm here for that.
It was a little more. There was no questions what was happening.
Nice.
So yeah, that's what we will be talking about this week.
Okay. But before we do, we have the poll list.
All right. So I'm actually reading like a whole bunch of other kind of weird titles, and I'll be talking about those in the future. But I wanted to go back to one that I have been reading. Yes. Remember, I swore I would never talk about X-Men, and well, here we are. I'm only going to be talking about X-Men.
I don't think it's possible for you to put a moratorium on that for yourself. I don't see it happening.
I might as well just pay into the swear jar now. So with X-Men being entirely rebooted, retconned, and completely morphed into its new iteration, it's been a little bit lost. There's no cohesion. The stories don't really I don't know where they're going. There's not a lot of rhyme or reason. However, there is a title that cut through it that I was not expecting, and it's The Marauders.
Oh, good title.
Which is funny because this is the name Marauders we've seen in X-Men before. They're the group of mutants that work for Mr. Sinister who slaughtered the Morlocks. And the title has been reclaimed by Kate Pryde, not Kitty. It's a plot point. No more Kitty. She has grown up. She's come into her own. She is now a badass on a ship.
Nice.
And I'm not a fan of nautical stuff. It's just not my cup of tea. And this has been awesome. So they have their ship. They're going around. They're rescuing mutants and bringing them back to their new homeland. And okay, there's political plot involved. There's international intrigue happening. She is now the Red Queen, I believe, of the Hellfire Club. Her plot has really expanded. And I wouldn't have suggested it as a poll list item until the last issue. The last issue does something that I have been waiting for since Joss Whedon wrote Astonishing X-Men, and that is it brought Emma Frost into the fold. I am not an Emma Frost fan at all. On her own, she's kind of boring, and her uppityness gets a little redundant.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when you pair her with Kitty Pryde, it is the best writing in all of X-Men. She loves Kitty Pryde. She hates that she loves Kitty Pryde. And Kitty knows that she's gotten under her skin. And she occupies Emma Frost's head rent free, and it's awesome. So I have to give it a 4 out of 5 capes.
Nice.
It probably would have gone higher if the issues leading up to issue 12 had been a little more cohesive, but those 11 issues were awesome in setting the stage for what is happening and what's about to happen. So of all my X-Men, like, ooh, is it out yet? Is it out yet? That's my go-to.
That's your one.
I'm also kind of excited in a relationship way. Cable is dating Emma Frost's daughters.
Both of them?
All 5 of them. 4 of them. Is there 5? 5.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet, but it got referenced, and now I'm like weirdly into this.
Yeah, that's totally different. Okay.
So, yeah, that's my poll list for this week.
Okay, I love it. So mine is the book Geekorama, and I've read this in ebook and I've listened to it in audiobook. And it's a really delightful, sweet YA romance by Amy Posen, and it is taking the fairy tale of Cinderella and it's bringing it into contemporary times, which I usually don't like. I in particular, I hate the fairy tale retellings of Cinderella. The only other one I ever read that was wonderful was called Ash by Melinda Lowe, but that was like a very loose retelling of Cinderella. This is a straight up Cinderella retelling. But the framework of it is this Star Trek-like television show that has a huge cult following and is being made into a movie. And so the main character's father created the national convention around this fandom before he died. It's kind of like his legacy. And when he died, he saddled his daughter, Ella, with a stepmother from hell and twin stepsisters. And the stepmom does treat her like a slave. She's terrible to her, puts her down all the time. And it's told in dual first-person narrative. And so it's told from the perspective of Ella, and then it's told from the perspective of the actor that's playing the main character of the show now in the movie. And he's seen by the general public as this kind of dumb teen heartthrob, and the female main character is pissed because they cast him in this role and he doesn't deserve it. But secretly, he's a huge fan of the show, and they're both total big geeks. And the book all leads up to the convention. And these two have actually, there's a kind of a You've Got Mail flavor to it as well, because they accidentally start trading text messages. He thinks he's texting somebody else. She doesn't know who he is, and they start texting one another. And she's the only one that he feels like he can be real with, and he's the only one that she feels like she can be real with. She doesn't know that he's the actor. He doesn't know who she is. And so this all comes to a head. This and her problems with her stepmother and her stepsisters all come to a head at the convention, where there is a cosplay contest that she enters with her mother and father's old cosplay costumes. They cosplayed the romantic couple from the show. And so she's cosplaying with their costumes. And one of the friends that she makes throughout the course of the book is a wannabe fashion designer who helps her design the costume. And they both work in a food truck called the Magic Pumpkin. The food truck is a giant orange monstrosity that belches smoke at every opportunity and only sells vegan food with a pumpkin theme. That's the food truck. It's weird and wonderful. And in the ebook, the characters are fantastic. They're just wonderful. I devoured it. I read it in 2 days. The audiobook had issues. So they used a male and a female narrator to represent the dual first-person narratives, which I very much appreciated. The female narrator was amazing. Totally understood what she was talking about, was able to pronounce all of the geek references. She was great. The male narrator was like nails on a chalkboard. Not only did he seem to not really understand the emotional context of what he was talking about, he mispronounced, and this shows my geekdom, Dalek. If you're supposed to be this huge nerd, you don't pronounce it Dalek. It's Dalek. And he did it like 4 times. And every time I had to stop the audiobook and calm down because it made me angry. Also, most of his chapters have repeated sentences in them. So it's like quality control did not catch this, and whoever produced his part of the audiobook didn't catch it. But he, almost every single chapter, there's 1 or 2 sentences that are repeated. So that really took the enjoyment out of it for me. And so I'm giving the audiobook 3 capes for that. And I really hate to take it down, but it just, in an audiobook, the performance is half of it. You know what I mean? Like, so that was kind of bad. The ebook, I'm giving 4 out of 5 capes. And the only reason it's not getting 5 capes is because I do tend to feel cheated when I read a sweet romance, because all you generally get is a kiss at the end. And the chemistry between these 2 characters, I'm like, I want some making out in the back of a car, damn it. And there's none of that. So 4 out of 5 capes for the ebook. Read it. You'll love it. 3 out of 5 for the audiobook.
You're knocking it down for the lack of smut.
I just, yeah.
We see where you're going.
So what are you geeking out about this week?
So, I am a huge Paul W.S. Anderson fan. And people are like, who the hell is that? Well, the only thing you ever seen him do is Resident Evil. He is the director of all the Resident Evil movies. And I think the husband of Mila Jovovich.
Interesting. Okay.
I might have that wrong, but it would make way more sense if that was true. And so he has done yet another video game movie called Monster Hunter. And I had no idea what this was about. Like, I've never played the game. I don't know anything about it. I believe it's a Capcom property. So
okay.
The only thing I knew about this movie walking into it is that people had been screaming, it's racist.
Okay.
And that's all that ever shows up on my newsfeed is someone else is complaining about it. And now, okay, my curiosity is piqued. Let's go see what's this about. So apparently whatever was in it has been taken out. I don't even know what the reference is, to be honest.
Okay.
But maybe, like, I don't know what they did to this movie, but it was boring. So in Resident Evil, you basically have Mila Jovovich wakes up from a coma, and there's zombies. And she is going to be a little meek at first, and then all of a sudden she's going to own her badassery, and then basically she just punches and kicks everything in high heel boots.
Okay.
Or she goes into a biker store and comes out wearing all leather, or wears a full skin tight, like, there's always like some sort of clothing montage before she masters her badasseriness.
I mean, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I expect. So I kind of expected this to be more of the similar, but it's an alternate Earth. A bunch of military people go through this portal and they wind up in this other world. Okay, I'm following. I would say about 67% of this movie is watching people inside a vehicle roll in slow motion.
Oh.
Like, every time they get near a vehicle, whether it be a plane, whether it be a car, or whether it be a ship floating through sand, it's gonna crash, and we're gonna have a series of cutscenes where everyone's bouncing off the interior over and over again. It was funny the first time. It became ironic the second time. The fifth time it happened, it stopped being funny.
Oh my God, why would you do that? Why would you show it that many times?
And actually, I think there's a sixth one at the end. At the end of the movie, I think there's another one. So this movie is all gameplay, no plot.
That's disappointing.
It was so boring, and it was so illogical. Like, at least with Resident Evil, like, there's zombies. Okay, I'm suspending a lot of disbelief right now. This one, like, why are you just making so many piss poor decisions? Oh, because the game is making you do it. That is the only rationale I could find for a lot of it. So at least Resident Evil had pretty moments. This I did not feel had enough pretty moments. And for a movie called Monster Hunter, they never hunted. They were only hunted. And you only actually see, I think in the whole movie, 3 monsters.
So is the implication that the humans are the monsters?
You're reading way into it. It's a movie that you're like, oh, there's nothing else on. I want kind of mindless sci-fi, and I need an excuse to eat popcorn. This is the movie for you. If you're looking for great action sequences, Mila Jovovich isn't a slouch in the fight department. We've seen her do it before. And this was so cutscene heavy that it was almost like her stunt double, which I'm sure it's her stunt double, wasn't very good at stunts. So they were like, well, don't worry, we'll just fix that in post.
We'll chop it up. Okay.
So I would give it like a D- on a good day. But
oh wow,
I got a lot of popcorn while watching it. So victory.
It's all good.
It's not going to hurt you to watch it. I just wouldn't recommend it.
Is it better than Batman versus Superman?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, God. I watched paint dry on a wall and thought it was better.
That's the scale.
I stand at my window and watch snow melt thinking, this is a better plot.
This is more entertaining.
The sun makes a better Superman. Yeah, so that's where we're at for that one.
Okay.
So hopefully you have a better geek out than I do.
I do, actually. So the voice of superhero fiction, Todd Downing, recommended Documentary Now on Netflix to my husband and I, and we didn't have anything to watch a couple nights ago. We're like, might as well give it a shot. This is a show on Netflix, original series, and it's like if somebody told Christopher Guest, we want you to make an entire show parroting different real events or real documentaries. That's this show. And Helen Mirren is the host. She's on the first, not even 2 minutes. She does a little introduction and of it, talking about in 1982, what makes somebody join a cult? What makes somebody want to start one? Just very erudite. It's a Helen Mirren, being very Helen Mirren. And, but then she'll say, tonight on Documentary Now, Batshit Valley. So it's a minute and a half or so of Helen Mirren being Helen Mirren and then saying stuff like Batshit Valley. And that's all you see of Helen Mirren. But I'm telling you, that alone is worth watching this for. But then the first episode is Batshit Valley. And it's, first of all, it's created by SNL alums, Seth Meyers, Fred Armisen, and Bill Hader. And it's just trust me when I say those three guys, if you like anything they've ever done, go watch this. But they took a real event that happened in Oregon in the early 80s with a cult leader, and the real event did really go totally batshit with like FBI and like undercover agents and people like with automatic rifles. Like it was nuts. But what they did is they took that real life event and they parodied it into a documentary style thing. And the way they did this, they distressed news footage that they recorded to make it look like it's from the 80s. The haircuts, the everything. I turned to Dan. I was like, is this actual footage that they're just repurposing? And he's like, I can't tell. Like it looks real. Like Connie Chung is in this. And I'm just like, what in the world am I watching? And then Luke Wilson comes on as the cult leader in like long flowing white hair and a white beard and like yellow robes and like a big hat. And you're just like, okay, we just went really off the rails here, but it was hilarious. And the people took it dead seriously. Like at one point, the master plot, like there's the cult leader has a second in command, like a person that just, oh my God, loves him so much. And she ends up like drugging him and taking over the cult and convincing everybody to get pink eye and like spread pink eye to the town that like was trying to get rid of them. Because why? I don't know. And then Michael Keaton, then you find out like Luke Wilson is actually an FBI plant, like he works for the FBI, and that's the end of the first half of the documentary. And so the next episode is the second half of the documentary, which has Michael Keaton in it as the FBI agent that hired Luke Wilson to pretend to be a cult leader. And you find out this really twisted backstory, but it's like they de-aged Michael Keaton and put him in like early 80s hair and everything. And like, again, distressed this footage to make it look like you're looking at interrogation footage of him, Luke Wilson, and this other guy plotting to create a cult to understand why people join a cult so that they can prevent another Jonestown. Like that's the premise. But it's just so far out there. Like there's literally a huge barn on the complex called the Orgasm Barn or the Orgy Barn, right? and they have speakers hooked up to it to like broadcast the orgasms to the town because they hate the town and they want to annoy the people in the town. Then there's like Helium Confessions, which basically like you inhale helium while you tell a group like your most shameful moment of your life.
You watch some weird stuff, and this is for me.
That's just the first documentary. Like I watched the second one last night, and it's a parody of a documentary somebody made about a live it was in the 70s, like a live recording of this Broadway musical that totally bombed. They did this live album recording of the music. And so they did a parody of that. And the parody's musical was called Co-op, the musical. And it has John Mulaney and the actress that played Angelica from Hamilton and a couple other SNL alums. Like, and it's very serious. Like the music is all original. Like they wrote all original music for this thing. It was just crazy. And I mean, there's still more left in the season. But yeah, if you want something that is just so weird and will totally take you out of reality for an hour, this is it. Like, it's on Netflix, documentary now. Just go watch it.
Okay, with that, we're going to take a break.
Behind every great superhero story is a sleep-deprived author. Join Franklin Kendrick every Friday as he takes you behind the mask and asks today's hottest superhero authors the burning question we all want to know. Do they always write in spandex, or is that just a weekend thing?
And we're back. So we're going to be talking about relationships that we want that unfortunately we have yet to get. So
Yes.
if some DC or Marvel execs are out there, just do it. Just
do it.
Just do it. I'm going to let you go first because I think you've got the more classic one.
Okay. My first one, and these are in random order, like I don't favor one more than the other. But the first one is Batman and Wonder Woman. And I think a lot of people have shipped this over the years. To be honest, whenever I see them together, and it's funny, whether it's animated or live action, I think the chemistry is incredible. It's this interesting balance of Batman's dead parents, broody, I have to be alone energy, and Wonder Woman's essentially hopeful and compassionate energy, kind of balancing out each other. And there was a comic, I don't know when it came out. It might have been at the end of the New 52s, but Batman and Wonder Woman do get kind of trapped in this alternate demon dimension, and they have to guard the demon dimension, like take over for the Guardian. So the Guardian can essentially have his one day off. But time in the demon dimension goes quicker. And so one day here was like 10, 15 years there. And they do end up having them get together. But when they get back to the real world, it's understood this was comfort. This was companionship. This wasn't anything else. So DC has come close to actually putting these two together without actually putting them together. And while I do love the classic relationship of Catwoman and Batman, I just think this one would be so interesting, that they would be fascinating together.
I think they're weirdly the same mindset. Like, they're both extremely practical. However,
Yes.
his takes a much darker side and hers takes a more hopeful side. So I think they're not even two sides of the same coin. They're like two halves of the same coin.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And so I think that way they balance each other out. And then she would just crush him, of course.
Of course. What's your first one?
My first one is actually kind of a bizarre one, because I talked about Emma Frost earlier, and I talked about her last time. Of course, I'm bringing her back again. She's not even a character I generally like, which is the funny part. But if we're going to go with some bizarre couplings, I want Emma Frost and Jean Grey to get it on.
Ooh. Oh, my God, I love that.
Emma Frost has taken on the Phoenix Force before. She'll do it again, I'm sure. It's going to happen. But I really just like her extremely practical but extremely ruthless aspect. And I love that she is the more collected and more precise, whereas Jean Grey is more of the kind of wild and emotional, which is kind of funny that Jean Grey is always perceived as the good one. And she's got her bad girl streak going. Yeah. But I just really think that this quite literal fire and ice type pairing would just make for some bizarre shenanigans. And I think if they paired up, that delightfully horrible things would happen.
That I would be here for that. Yeah.
And I think that would just be
hot.
I mean, like, I'm not kidding that in one of the issues of Marauder, Emma Frost is always wearing a bustier. She's no longer wearing a bustier. She just wears a jacket. She doesn't even close it. It just stays open. And it's a plot point. So I just think the two of them reserved, like, I think it would be a perfect complementing couple. So
Yes.
I think
I love
everyone
that.
would love it, but it'd be awesome.
Yeah. They would love it. Would be a love-hate for the fans.
And you know the fanboys would be there for that issue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ew.
Who's on your next?
So I haven't seen a lot of people ship this, especially not recently, but from the CW show, Killer Frost and Barry Allen. Because, and I don't have a problem with the actress that plays Iris on the show. I want to say that because she has gotten horrendously treated by fans over the years. So I have nothing against her. But I think the chemistry between her and Barry is limp.
Not only that, can we just finally address the fact that he married his sister?
Yeah.
We all danced around it. It got brought up in one episode. Let's just admit it. He married his sister.
Exactly. And honestly, the chemistry is so lacking that I kind of feel like they mentally friend zoned one another, but nobody's listening. So it's just like, I don't see it. But there were many times with him and Killer Frost, especially at the beginning where she's trying to, they're trying to figure out Barry and I don't know, just the way the relationship developed between the two of them in the show. There were several points where it was like, this would be a fascinating pairing, honestly. And in particular, because they are in their superhero personas very opposite. Barry really likes his powers. Killer Frost kind of doesn't. He's a very jovial, happy-go-lucky guy. Killer Frost is sarcastic and gloomy. And so it would be, I think, really interesting, but also the chemistry between the two actors on the show. I was here for that. And they teased it a little bit. They danced around the edges of it. And then they were like, oh, no, we're just friends. And I was like, oh. So
I always wanted Caitlin and Cisco to get together. I wanted them to be the cute, geeky couple.
I never thought they had much chemistry.
I don't really think they did, but I just want like pure, unadulterated geek love.
Yeah, although we got some of that on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Although I really was, I tuned out that show. Fitz and Simmons, but
it would be almost the same couple.
It would be, yeah. But I don't know. I just
way more likable.
Yeah, and Barry is brainy, but not as brainy as Caitlin.
Yeah.
So I think it would be way more interesting. There would be more inherent conflict than the manufactured conflict that they are doing between Iris and Barry. Honestly, at this point, they're doing to Iris and Barry what they did to Felicity and Oliver, and it's just I'm out. I don't care anymore.
So it could be Killer Frost and Barry and Caitlin and Cisco, and the CW show writes itself from there on out.
Oh my God.
Ta-da.
I would watch that.
That would be a disaster, which is basically what the CW turned into. So
yeah. No, it fits. Okay,
so
what's your next
one? One actually does have some precedent. It has happened before. Chris Claremont, which is kind of like the godfather of X-Men, he came back for an alternate reality series, and basically what it was is from a very specific point in the X-Men canon, he decided to move the age forward. So X-Men has been around for 70 years, but they haven't really aged. I think like Cyclops has aged 5 years. And what he did was in the series, some of the X-Men have grandchildren. So it pushed the plot way forward. And we got to see Storm and Wolverine as a couple.
Interesting.
And I thought this was one of my favorite aspects of this because Storm has become essentially she's a quadriplegic now because her powers have slowly caused internal damage to her body.
Oh,
and she is Wolverine is taking care of her. And
Aww.
it is the sweetest relationship because she is trying to say, like, you know, you can move on with your life, and he's like, I got nothing but time for you. And I was like, oh my God, this needs to really happen.
Oh.
Ultimately, she opens a severe can of whoop ass later and starts to destroy things left and right, which is even better. Storm has proven she doesn't need limbs to be bad. So I just really always wanted that in canon. I mean, Wolverine's gotten with everybody else. Why not? And I really just think that she wouldn't put up with his bullshit.
No.
So I think she would put him in his place left and right. Yeah. And I think his rough demeanor with her kind of regal sense, and her ability to step off her pedestal and like be 1980s Mohawk Storm. Mm-hmm. I've always wanted this to become an ongoing thing.
That would be, you know, when I saw it on the list, I was like, I can't quite wrap my head around that. But now hearing you talk about it, no, that would be fascinating.
And we got the story. It wasn't made canon. So, wah, wah. But I also don't want another Wolverine relationship plot. So
yeah,
they can just keep it kind of cash, you know,
on the side.
Yeah, she's too busy doing. I don't even know where her plot is. I mean, Storm has literally shagged Dracula. She is the Queen of Wakanda.
Yep.
I mean, Wolverine, you'd be so lucky.
It's true, he would.
So, yeah, that's my number 2.
Okay.
Well, what do you got next?
My number 3 is, I think, kind of an unpopular pairing, but so last episode I talked about how much I loved Sarah Lance and Ava together from Legends of Tomorrow. But before Ava, the first few seasons of Legends of Tomorrow, I absolutely was shipping Rip Hunter and Sarah Lance. I know. People give me that look all the time, but there were moments where I was like, there is some lit chemistry here between the two of them, because he really was instrumental in helping her realize that she was a leader, that she had worth, that she was more than what had come before. And when she really started stepping into that and stepping into her power as a leader, that's when their chemistry, although they went head to head a lot of times about who was in charge, the chemistry I thought really became fascinating. And there are some moments before, it's a couple of episodes before Rip dies, where I'm like, are they going to get them together? And it was just, I don't know, I really loved it. And I thought that they balanced each other in a very weird way, because they are kind of both dark. Like, Rip was very torn up about his family, which I was so done with by episode 3 of that first season. I was like, get over it. And Sarah is torn up about her past too. And I felt like together, as they moved through the show, as they worked as a team, they helped each other kind of get past that. Now, Rip, I wish they had let him get past it, because I think he would have been a much better character. He never got completely past it, but she did. And I think it was in large part due to them helping each other. And I think they would have been really interesting together. Not fantastic, not love of lives, kind of thing, but just interesting.
I hated him so much that I tuned the show out. Like, I stopped watching it because he was in it.
Oh my God. I love Arthur Darvill, because from Doctor Who, he's Rory and Amy. I love him so much. And so I watched it for him, but I also really love a moody guy. Like, he was so moody, and he had that duster. Oh my God. He was hot in that show. I
just thought when Constantine showed up, I was like, oh, the good Rip is here.
Oh, that's a good point. No, I'm here for Constantine too, but I was here for Rip as well. I
also, Sarah in the first season, I'm pretty convinced she gets her powers from the abundance of hair gel. Have you noticed every time she goes and suits up, there is a lot of hair gel involved?
No, that's a good point. I never even thought about that.
Like, this is what I noticed in superheroes.
Well, and I've seen a lot of people ship Constantine, Ava, and Sarah as a polyamorous couple.
See,
And
I could have been on board with that.
I almost put that on here because I'm okay with that, but I also really loved, like, I want to see Constantine in a healthy gay relationship because I don't think we see, like, we definitely don't see that, like, a lesbian relationship in superheroes a whole lot, but we definitely don't see a healthy gay relationship in superhero stories enough. And I really wanted to see that.
That's
more than
why
anything.
I liked when they brought back, not Bart, what's his name?
Snart.
Snart. When they brought him back,
Yeah.
and when they had, Champion. I can't think of what the.
I think it was Champion. Yeah, in the Earth X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simple. It wasn't a super complicated plot. It was just oh.
They love each other,
and then we move on.
Yeah, that was it. No, I loved that relationship. I could have watched a show with them all day. But
that's a lot of props for the relationship dynamics,
mm-hmm.
for even like Rory and who is the Atom?
Ray.
There's like a weird bromance with them, and I like that it just stayed this awkward bromance. It was delightful. I might ship the two of them.
Who's your next one?
So this is where things are going to take a disastrous turn for me because I wanted something that wasn't X-Men. I know, shocker.
Shocking.
So I went hunting through, and I wanted something that wasn't comic book. So I am such a massive Netflix Marvel person because when the first season of Daredevil came out, I did everything I wanted and then some.
Yep.
And then when Jessica Jones came out, I was like, oh my God, you just made Daredevil look like a half-ass show. And then I started thinking, she gets it on with a lot of dudes. But she didn't get it on with Matt. Yes, Jessica Jones and Matt Murdock need to be a couple.
Okay, go ahead.
Matt Murdock is a morally centered person who does really bad things with good intent. I guess.
Yeah.
He's very much the ends justify the means. Well, Funny story, so is Jessica Jones. Her moral compass doesn't always point north, but she always tries to do good and sometimes does bad to get there. Yeah. And I just thought, like, they're weirdly the same ethos of a person.
Which is why they never get along.
Well, and when we got Defenders, like, they butt heads over, like, he's got an attitude problem as Matt Murdock. Like, he thinks he's better than everyone. And she just doesn't deal with that bullshit.
Nope.
And I just love how fast she cuts him down to size over and over again.
It was epic, yeah.
And he could beat the snot out of her physically, but she's going to cut him with her tongue. So I just think this couple needs to happen because I want to watch the horrible come out of this. It's probably even too dark for Netflix. It probably got to go to like HBO Max. Like, this is going to be a horrific coupling that nobody is walking away unscathed. Actually, they might be the only two left standing at the end of the relationship.
Yeah. It reminds me of Buffy and Spike.
Yes.
It's the relationship that you'd hate it. You'd be like, oh, no, I don't want them together. But then when they're together and you're like, oh, I kind of like this. And then when they broke up, you'd be like, oh my God, they broke up. I hate that.
Well, actually, I might be the only person in the world that I think Spike should have been killed very early on and repeatedly killed.
Dan is of the same opinion. I am not.
No, you can't come back from that, Joss Whedon. You can't come back from making Spike Joss Whedon.
Yeah, we probably should have a whole show about that. But anyway.
My other ones are kind of happy. These will be like funky. No, this one, I want the evil.
The angst and the angry sex.
Yeah, this should be a CW show.
No, it's too hot for the CW. They wouldn't do it right.
Oh God, they would go on adventures, and it would be whoever gets to the finish line, like whoever beats up the big bad gets to be on top.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have. I want nasty bathroom sex. I want they're angry. They just beat the shit out of somebody. They're on a fire escape and they do it. You know what I mean?
What I really want more than anything, I want Jessica Jones to beat Elektra to a bloody pulp.
I don't ever really like Elektra, and I don't know why. I don't think she's ever been done well, because apparently in the comics she's pretty good, but
yeah. The Netflix Elektra was probably, I think, the most piss poor.
Really?
Murdock's relationship was so shoehorned that I was actively angry that they ruined a part of the season because of that. But they could team up against Elektra, and Punisher got kind of nicer, I guess.
I'm over him.
Yeah, that's my number 3.
Oh my God. I would watch that and I would cringe the entire time.
But it would be so hot.
It would be totally hot. Okay, my number 4 is a very unpopular choice. I have a lot of unpopular choices, I think.
See, this one I agree with, and I felt like I was led to agree with it.
Yeah. No, so it's Natasha Romanoff and Bruce Banner. And I'm specifically saying Natasha Romanoff and Bruce Banner because I am here for a chick who can throw down and the geek that she loves. I am here for that. Bruce Banner, not Hulk, but Bruce Banner is a nerdy brain and played to perfection, in my opinion, by Mark Ruffalo. And I think that might be one of the main reasons why I ship this so hard is because I love Mark Ruffalo. Love him. The chemistry between the two of them was adorable. It was so cute. She was playful. He was bashful and embarrassed, and she loved it, and she poked at him a little bit with that. But then the moments when they were serious, they were there for each other. They understood one another. And I felt like she understood him in a way that nobody else on that team did, honestly.
And she accepted all of him, which in his case is the Hulk.
Yeah.
It was, this is part of who you are. So here we are.
Because if anybody understands the dark side, Natasha has a dark side. She has a really bad dark side from what she did before she became a hero. And she understands the need to have somebody look at you and say, I accept all of your parts. And so that's why she's able to do that with Bruce. And I think that's also ultimately why Bruce is able to do that with her.
Except, I mean, don't get me wrong, like there's some eyebrow raises at you did what? But at the same time, there's not like a condescension or there's not a judgment that comes with it.
No, not at all. And I really do love that romantic trope. I love the kick-ass person, the kick-ass girl, and the nerdy guy. I just do. And I don't see that combination enough. Oftentimes you'll see nerdy girl and kick-ass guy and not the reverse. And this time we got the reverse, and I just really loved it. I thought it was so cute. And there was definite sexual chemistry there. So that's my last one.
I even like that when she goes toe-to-toe with the Hulk. She goes toe-to-toe with the Hulk because she's Natasha Romanoff.
Exactly. And I also love that she's the only one on the team that can calm him down. That the The Hulk trusts her. That's incredible.
And that I actually think that the Hulk trusts her more than Bruce Banner does, which, I mean, there's a whole psychological, like, the id versus the ego happening with that. And it worked on so many levels, and
it did. It was sweet, and it was intense, and it was just, there was a level of heat there. I mean, I was there for that. I was there all the way for that. So
not really sure I want to watch ScarJo and Mark Ruffalo banging.
No, I would be okay with a fade to black on that one. Like,
I mean, I'm not going to look away, but
I do have a crush on Mark Ruffalo, though.
He's really cute.
He's cute. He's scruffy. I like the scruffy ones.
So my last one, I mentioned this last week. I'm going to mention it again because it deserves to be put out there. It's going to be Xavier and Magneto, and it's going to have to be Xavier and Magneto from the first 3 X-Men, because you no longer can separate Xavier from Patrick Stewart or Magneto from Ian McKellen. They are one and the same.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the funny thing is Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen's relationship in real life is so goddamn cute.
It really is.
I wanted to push its way into canon. Because like Xavier and Magneto have like this sometimes brotherly bond, sometimes savior complex, sometimes like they want the same thing and they can't agree on how to get there. They're basically an old married couple from the very beginning.
They are, absolutely.
But when you see Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen kissing in front of on like red carpets and, you know, wearing their sweaters out together and just being an adorable couple of dudes being weird good.
I know.
Oh my God. I've literally watched every interview that they did together because I don't want to watch them separately. It's got to be together.
It's got to be together, yeah.
And every time, like, Facebook knows that when they're together, it sends me like alerts. I'm like, oh, they're together again. Like,
I love them on Graham Norton.
Yes,
they're amazing on that show.
That was the most awkward and hilarious interview of all time.
Are you talking about the one with Hugh Jackman?
Yes.
Where Ian McKellen grabs his ass? I was dying.
When they're having a very serious conversation about penises.
Yes. Yes.
And it's funny because Hugh Jackman is the young one in this group. But like they have like English sensibilities about them.
I know. Well, and just
kind of like, woo.
And I've had a crush on Patrick Stewart since Star Trek: The Next Generation, honestly. And seeing him sit on a couch and talk about his penis, I was like, I don't know how to feel right now.
I find it funny because everyone's like, oh, he ages like a fine bottle of wine. No, wine ages like Patrick Stewart.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
and Chocolate and Wine wishes they got, you know, worked good together. Like Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart are good together. Like,
for 30 years, these two men have been exactly the same. And
yeah,
I love them. So that is it's not even necessarily comic books or superheroes. I want the actors behind the heroes.
Who doesn't? They have a total platonic love affair. I mean, really, like, they are besties.
Oh, okay. So if we're going to go that one, I'm going to take this one. I'm going to sneak this one in there.
Okay.
I want Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman to kiss.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Their playfulness, and they are literally Patrick Stewart and they're the second coming of Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
They are. If you watch the actors in interviews, Like the way they are with each other. Oh my God. But it's a little bit snippier. They're like, it's funny. They're like the old lady versions of Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart.
I just live for the rivalry. It's adorable. It is
adorable.
It's always on like the obvious side of fun humor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all there for it. So those are our ships behind comic books, TV, and superhero movies. So yeah.
There you have it.
I'm sure there's plenty more.
Yeah, well, and I was just going to say, if you listening or watching have some ships that you would like to drop, or if you have issues with ours, drop it in the comments. On YouTube, you can drop it in the comments there, or on the website, you can leave a comment, send us an email, tell us your headcanon ships. And the weirder, the better.
And when Anonymous123 talks about how he wants Rip to die in the first season of Legends of Tomorrow, it's not me.
It's not you. I know a few people liked him.
We will be back in 2 weeks. In the meantime, swing by superherofiction.com and check out all things superheroes.
See you guys later.
Bye. I can find the button.
To stay up to date with the Geekorama podcast, you can watch our videos on YouTube or subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. And if you enjoy the show, leave us a review or hit the thumbs up button.